All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to our session with Student Affairs, Diversity and Inclusion. We're very excited to virtually host you all today and share more about all of the incredible resources and support that are waiting for you here at Cal Poly. My name is Bea Makikau. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the interim director, and we are going to begin with a panel discussion with the professional staff from the cross-cultural centers, the Black Academic Excellence Center, and the Dream Center. Then we'll open up for a Q&A. So I'm going to kick us off today by asking the panelists to introduce yourself with your name, your pronouns, the center you lead, and one thing that you love about the work you do.
Thank you, Bea. My name's Anya Booker, and I want to start by thanking the admissions and open house team for allowing me to participate today. I'm the coordinator for the Black Academic Excellence Center, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. One of the things I love most about working with students is that this is such an incredible time in your lives, and it's a time for you to begin to think about all the ways that you want to flourish and excel while you're here as a student, but also as you're thinking about your life trajectory. So I'm most excited about supporting students in demonstrating and developing their gifts, talents, and fullest capacities.
Hello, everyone. My name is Samuel Bird, and I use any pronouns. I am a lead coordinator within our unit managing the Cal Poly Pride Center. But more specifically, I help coordinate various LGBTQ plus initiatives and interfaith initiatives across campus and in the San Luis Obispo community. One thing I think I love most about my work is engaging the campus and local community in much needed structural and organizational change. I love developing, working with student leaders and the campus and community partners to create spaces, programs, and initiatives that elevate values of radical hospitality and inclusion. So in short, I am really just trying to create a community where everyone, no matter who you are, what you look like, where you're from, or who you love, can thrive.
Hi everyone, my name is Lilian and I use she, hers pronouns. I am one of the coordinators in the Multicultural Center, and one of the things that I love is that I get to do social justice work as my job because it's something that not only do I do professionally, but it's also something that I am committed to personally as well. I'm very passionate about educational equity and doing work that serves and helps to uplift students and communities who come from underrepresented backgrounds. And so just being able to do this with our Cal Poly students and with the team that I have is very rewarding.
And then hello everyone, my name is Damacio. I use they, them pronouns. I'm also one of the coordinators within the Multicultural Center. One of my favorite things that I love most about my work is being able to continue to do college access work through programming and identity development and capacity building.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. My name is Olivia Tran. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the coordinator in the Gender Equity Center, and I do work with one other person. She's the AmeriCorps volunteer coordinator. Her name is Katie Edel, but she couldn't be with us today, but I wanted to acknowledge her existence because I love her. Something that I love about my work is just that I feel like as a queer woman of color, there are very few opportunities to do work that feels like very true to my morals and my values. And so this is an opportunity for me to feel like all of those identities are an asset to my work rather than something that I kind of have to like squeeze into some kind of predetermined mold. And so that's the kind of feeling that I want to give to students who I interact with and who I work with as well.
How's it going, y'all? My name's Nick Billich. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the coordinator of the Men and Masculinities Program. And one thing I love about the work that I do is actually the conversations that come from one of the questions I often ask during open house, slow days, or week of welcome events. And it's when's the last time you had an intentional conversation about masculinities or what it means to be a man? And a lot of people, especially men, say that they've never had an actual conversation like that. And I love how that opens the door, not only for a connection with our program, but also some really important identity development for that person to explore.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Since I didn't get to share one thing that I love about what I do, I'll share that now. So one thing is that I really just love getting to work with and support this incredible team of experts who always put students first. and strive to create a more inclusive and equitable Cal Poly. I also wanted to add that if y'all have questions throughout our presentation, you can use the little Q&A button. We'll be fielding those questions and then be answering questions at the end as well. So that moves us to our next question for our panelists. As they introduced themselves and talked about the centers, if you all could also tell us about what types of resources and services does your center offer? Anya, if you want to start with us.
I'm happy to. So I think of approaching this work with a very holistic perspective, and that means supporting every aspect of being a student. And I enter thinking about BASE, the Black Academic Excellence Center, as having different pillars. We consider health and wellness, financial matters, everything that has to do with your existence, your thriving, your well-being as a student, as a person. And so based on those pillars, we create workshops and have leadership development support. We also think about ways that you can participate in events that are hosted for Black students or Black students that identify with the Black student community and beyond. We try to expand those considerations and conversations to the SLO community as well. And you'll find that there are Black staff and faculty and even community members that are behind you and supporting you and wanting to engage and support this holistic approach to your success as a Cal Poly student, but also above and beyond that. And I would really acknowledge then that there's a close partnership with certainly Black faculty and staff, but also the Black alum that have attended Cal Poly. They have you on their minds and in their interest all the time. And so that's another significant part of the work that we try to do, is continue to cultivate ways for you to network with a broad base of people who will support your development.
In the Cal Poly Pride Center, we work to support all students of all sexualities and genders. And as such, most of our resources and service are designed to support students as they discover themselves, to increase visibility for all of our underrepresented communities, and to build social support networks. Some examples of the Pride Center's work include providing coming out resources or coming out consultations, access to affinity groups, because we know our community is one of multiplicity. We have learned by doing opportunities such as volunteering or doing internships or practicums. We have a variety of residential learning communities for our students. We advise student organizations. We work with our partners in health and well-being to provide gender affirming care and in career services to provide LGBTQ career support. And most notably, our signature events. We do several programs throughout the academic year focused around LGBTQ history, mostly in October, and Pride Month, which is in May. Our advocacy and consulting also helps to enhance education of our students, faculty, and staff to promote compliance and best practices across campus. We have a gender and sexuality library. We do educational workshops, and we work with organizations across campus to do assessments and improve access, equity, and inclusion within their spaces.
So the Multicultural Center is both a physical space and a center that promotes and creates learning, advocacy, and community. The MCC is used as both a hangout and a study space. And so we have computers, printing, couches, a small kitchen with a fridge, a sink, a microwave. So a lot of students hang out in there every day in between classes or just studying for classes. Many of the programs and services that we offer are also centered around identity development, so building community and collective empowerment. We do both access and retention work to support the success of underrepresented students on campus. So we have a lot of different types of events. We have smaller ones like dialogues that are ran by students and is a space for people to connect and share experiences and stories around a topic that they choose. We also have celebratory events like Lunar New Year and Dia de los Muertos. And we also have large scale events like Culture Fest, where all the cultural organizations come together to sell cultural foods and do performances. And we even bring out a headliner for that event as well. So however you want to get involved, whether it's just hanging out, volunteering, or even leading an event, the MCC is ready for you whenever you are.
So I want to speak a little bit about sort of the foundations of the Gender Equity Center's work. So I like to think that we are focused on intersectional feminist work, and we do a lot of programming for women around womanhood and around feminine identities. But we also really intentionally try to cultivate a space for those of all marginalized gender identities, including non-binary and trans folks, to affirm and explore their identities and maybe their relationships to womanhood as well, if that's something that they feel affinity with. So the Gender Equity Center, like the Multicultural Center, is a physical space as well. So you can come in to study, have meetings, do your schoolwork, use the printer, heat up your food, hang out, or like take a nap on the couches if you want to. A lot of students do that. But we do offer like other educational, social services and programs as well. So something that I like to highlight is called our Gender Equity Movement Training. And that's something, a 5-week-long course that is founded in feminist histories and perspectives, and kind of how to examine gender and how to move your feminism into activism and also advocacy and allyship. We have dialogues as well, so that's spaces for women and women-identified folks to come together in community. We have one called Queer Women Wednesdays that we host with the Pride Center, and also one called Womankind for all women and feminine-identified students on campus. And then all kinds of like various programming around womanhood, whatever students want to do. I'm always kind of like down to do it. So we do have education around, like, for example, the language around womanhood, why we at the Gender Equity Center spell women with an X, examinations of how gender and race kind of intersect and interact with each other, and also just like fun social events. So anything you want to come out and hang out to do with us, we are open and we would love to see you there. One of our big signature programs is called Original Women's Narratives, and it is a theatrical production and our form of activism. And so it's something that's put together. The script is written by Cal Poly students and community members. It's directed by Cal Poly students. It is performed by Cal Poly students. And it's all these stories of womanhood that are like the truths of the people who are writing and performing and putting these stories on stage. And so that's really neat.
Cool. So the Men and Masculinity Programs purpose is to create spaces for students, faculty, staff to critically evaluate and dialogue about masculinities towards developing more inclusive, holistic, and healthy understandings of and expressions of masculinity. A lot of people ask what we do. So yeah, we're not necessarily a program that shows up a lot on college campuses. So feel very fortunate to be doing this work. And some of the ways that we do that work on campus are through our affinity groups. So we have something such as our Men of Color Dialogue, which is a bi-weekly space for men of color to connect, build community, and grow together. We also do this through workshops such as our speaker series, which is a TED Talk style event featuring a 20-minute talk by a student, faculty, or staff on a topic of masculinities, followed by a guided discussion by the expert and our student staff. We also do this through our core events such as Movember, which is a month-long series of events focused on men's health in November. And also our trainings, such as our partnership with the Office of Equal Opportunity and the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, where we facilitate a series of workshops and discussions with respondents on the back end of Title IX investigations. So that's a little bit about what we do.
Thanks, Nick. So currently in my role as interim director, I'm also serving to support the Dream Center. The Dream Center coordinator position is currently vacant, but we are prioritizing filling that role. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Dream Center, and that it offers a range of programs and services to educate the campus community and support undocumented students' access, persistence, graduation, and postgraduate pursuits. This often looks like dialogue spaces, drop-in sessions from various campus partners, free immigration attorney services, and undocu ally trainings for our entire campus. Now, given the current state of the world we're in right now, and that you all are virtually joining us, I feel this next question is important because it really highlights our persistence in supporting our students in any circumstance. So if the panelists, if you could all talk a little bit about how your work has shifted during this virtual time.
So I'll get started with that. My colleagues will tell you I am new to Cal Poly, though I'm not new to doing this sort of work. So some of what's shifted for me hasn't been as dramatic as maybe some other folks, but I can tell you this. I'm really focused on reaching out to students on an individual level at this point. So we've been making quite a bit of phone calls to connect with students to find out how the transition is going for them and to provide needed resources to learn more about this experience. It's new for everybody. And as a consequence, new challenges and new opportunities pop up, seems like nearly daily. But what I can also tell you about that, especially as someone who's new to Cal Poly, is that the administration and the faculty have been swift to develop new opportunities and resources and ways to support students from every matter conceivable. And so I found that to be true for students, for staff and faculty. And this responsiveness is a part of what I'm doing as a coordinator for Black Academic Excellence Center. I'm falling in step to connect and find out what's needed, and also developing some of our programming. So not only are we taking care of this quarter, but being prepared for the fall quarter when you'll arrive and going forward from there.
In the Pride Center, we know that as COVID-19 sweeps across the world, that the lives and livelihoods of the LGBT community are at risk with unique economic and healthcare challenges. So as such, we've shifted to increasing awareness and visibility of these struggles and providing the much needed social connection in the time that can be very isolating for a lot of our students. We are also taking the time to pool our resources and talents across the Central Coast to develop new strategies for the virtual world, including updating online digital resources, increasing our social media presence, and developing important assets that will be used for years to come. But I think of most interest to you all as prospective students, we are hosting the following. Virtual appointments for individuals and groups. We are hosting a Queers in Quarantine social programming series with everything from face mask night to streaming shows together and watching those as a group. Our team is also putting together a queer and trans podcasts with LGBTQ news, and we're hosting coming out monologues. Which will document some LGBTQ experiences of folks within our community. Additionally, if you're considering living in one of our Pride residential communities, I would love to connect with you offline and share more information about our partnership with University House. Those are just a few things that we're working on right now. But again, like was said, we're also working to prepare for the next academic year to improve our programs and services.
Hello, everyone. And for the Multicultural Center, our work has shifted to support and create community for our underrepresented students online. And so some of those ways that we've engaged our students are through virtual dialogue, such as like Crossroads, which is a dialogue for and by mixed race people. We also have Talk About It Tuesdays, which is our more open dialogue for anyone to come in and engage topics affecting our communities. And there's Identity, which is a racial identity development dialogue group for any folk who's like are interested in learning more about their social identities. We've also implemented MCC Community Hour, which is like a weekly program that is thematic and can range from watching a film together, playing a game, or just about anything. As for student assistants, they've been leading charge on our Instagram to do Instagram takeovers, which highlight different aspects of their job that they like. Favorite things to do in SLO. They highlight good food that they're eating or activities that they're working on, and so much more. we also offer a lot in partnership with colleges. We offer drop-in advising. So like, for example, we have a partnership with the College of Liberal Arts, the Orphalia College of Business, and College of Agricultural and Environmental Science. We also co-host a drop-in math tutoring session hosted by faculty members from the math department. And then, for example, for the folks that weren't able to come into due to COVID-19 and join us for the Polycultural Weekend, our coordinators are busy creating a website that will connect you to student clubs and organizations, and create a list of digital resources for you to get better acquainted with the greater SLO community.
Yeah, so as we move online, we're figuring out ways to engage our community, mostly through our social media. So our Instagram has been really active. We've joined in on some of the Instagram live takeovers that the Multicultural Center has done. Every Friday, we're planning on having one of the student assistants take over the Instagram story and kind of show you like their life while sheltering at home. So that's a lot of fun. We've moved like virtual meetings online so you can schedule with the professional staff online. We're doing hangouts through Zoom, and we're offering virtual trainings such as our gender equity movement training online with virtual resources and kind of like more visual kind of representations of the knowledge for those learning styles. We're also planning a Twilight movie marathon, so that'll be fun. And then something exciting that, again, we're working on in collaboration with the Multicultural Center is we have quarterly Women of Color mixers, and we are working to bring those onto an online format. And so our students are looking at doing like interviews or like a podcast kind of format for that so they can engage with the community of women of color on campus. So yeah, I will figure out how to drop our social media in the chat so that you all can check us out and see what we're up to if you're interested.
So for the Men and Masculinities program, yeah, a lot, for all of us, a lot has been changing. And creating community is such a foundational part of what we do. So we've really had to work collaboratively with each other and then also with our students to figure out how do we continue doing that in this new virtual platform. And some of the things that our students have created and some of the initiatives that they're working on is we're starting a book club, reading through Jeanette Diaz's series of short stories titled Drowned. That's going to be a weekly time to connect and process the stories, ask questions, and also like just see identities as they're jumping off the page. Actually, one of our students who's an English major is leading this too, so I'm really excited about that. We also have M&M Connect, which is just a weekly time for folks to join a Zoom call and connect, check in, and talk about how we can support each other. So it's just an open time to connect with our student staff and professional staff to see how you're doing and how we can support you. We're also experimenting with asynchronous programming. So for instance, we have a event called Pass the Mic, which is an open mic style event. So we're going to be filming that and then putting it up on our social media platforms and website. So students don't necessarily have to figure out a time where they have to access and be there, but that they can access that whenever that time works for them, and then repeatedly if they like. And then also we're working on developing social media campaigns that really speak to some of the things that specifically our masculine, male-identified men community are facing. One of those being help-seeking behaviors. We just know through research and socialization that can be a difficult thing for male-identified folks to practice. So just developing how to destigmatize some of these help-seeking behaviors, lining up resources that can be helpful to students, and trying to make that as accessible through our social media platforms as possible. So that's a couple of things that we're doing.
Thanks, y'all. I'll talk a little bit about the Dream Center. So similar to my colleagues, the Dream Center has shifted to virtual services. We're offering virtual drop-ins from career services, financial aid, and academic advising. And when I say virtual drop-ins, these are being facilitated by staff partners, campus partners who have identified themselves as advocates and are actively supporting our students within the centers. We're also offering virtual Dream Circle dialogue, so where our Dream Center students and again, campus advocates can join in community in a safe space and share about what they're experiencing and how they're feeling. And thankfully, we're still also able to offer virtual immigration attorney services free of charge. Those are happening over the phone, and those are for our students and their families. So our centers oftentimes are able to serve as services, not just for our students, but those that support them and the families who are helping them also succeed during this time. We also, all of us remain available for virtual appointments. I know that was said before, but in some of the links we'll put up at the end of this, you'll be able to find ways in which you can schedule virtual appointments with us if you want to speak to any of us after this presentation. This time has really showed us about how our Cal Poly community has wrapped around each other to ensure our students' continued success. And that's exactly the type of care and commitment you'll receive when you join us in the fall. With that said, I want to move into our last question before we open up for more question and answer, and some of which we can answer some of the questions I'm seeing in the chat. But if the team can just say one thing you would like our future Mustangs to know about being successful and cultivating community at Cal Poly.
Well, as I mentioned to you, I am new to Cal Poly myself, and what I can tell you I've learned to do and would support students in doing is, number one, to show up as you are, all of who you are, and enjoy meeting and getting to know people with all of your multiple interests, identities, etc. There are so many opportunities, starting with the Cross-Cultural Center and those centers that have partnerships and relationships with the Cross-Cultural Center as a place to begin, and connecting with staff and faculty, connecting to your curiosities, interest, all of the above, from any range of things that you might want to explore, and to take in all of it, take in traveling, all of it, and find like-minded people, find friends, find acquaintances, and just allow yourself the full range of all that Cal Poly has to offer.
One of the questions that the Pride Center gets quite frequently from prospective students or even parents is how many LGBTQ plus students go to Cal Poly. That's a hard question to answer because people do not always voluntarily disclose this information. We know that this past year at Cal Poly, nearly 2,000 active students voluntarily identified as a member of an underrepresented sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression in their college application. I get a lot of questions about coming out, and coming out to friends and family is a deeply personal issue, something that we must decide individually with our own circumstance, realizing that it may not be always something that someone can safely do. We also recognize that college is a time in which many individuals are exploring their identities. Our students recognize that finding other queer or trans friends may be difficult on campus, but recommend finding at least one friend that will help you connect to those spaces. And with the growing social acceptance in some areas of our society, our campuses are becoming more welcoming of LGBTQ students, but we aren't fully there yet in all areas. We also recognize for many, we are living in times of uncertainty given the current socio-political climate, and that there are many challenges that we still face. Prospective students should explore what resources are available to them and specific types of community that they are looking for in the schools that they're applying. Specifically for Cal Poly, reach out to us, or just me, so that we know that you're here and we can be a support for you or a contact for you on campus. A lot of students I see wish they had reached out sooner. You do not have to be out to reach out to us as a resource. In fact, many of those who do work with us are identifying as allies, and we are a resource for all Cal Poly students, including our allies.
I would just say, like, don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's about getting connected to certain organizations, people, or centers, because more often than not, people here on campus are just very eager to support students in whatever ways that they might need. And so don't ever feel like you have to go through something alone. Many of the students who I know are like 3rd and 4th years, they often regret not getting involved sooner, connecting to like the cross-cultural center sooner. So like, not to plug, but to really plug, like even if it means coming out to like an event once or twice a quarter, I think that's a great first step to take in building communities on campus. And I think that once you're plugged in, it's really easy for that circle to grow for you too. So hope to see you all out here if you do decide to come to Cal Poly.
And then I would echo Lilian and say, come visit us. Come visit the Multicultural Center. We're located Froyo and the Starbucks.
I think Bri froze on us. So if Olivia, do you want to join over and maybe Bri can add a couple of things if they come back?
Sure, I love talking over people. So I will say, I guess to be completely 100% honest, like I think this campus can be incredible and amazing, but I also want to acknowledge that it can feel stifling and it can often be difficult for students who have marginalized identities. So as far as community goes, like what I want to say is that like we are here and we are waiting for you. If you want to come out and find us, we will like accept you with open arms, I guess. And so I really like to think about the Gender Equity Center and the community that it cultivates as a space that is intentionally open to transformation and to constantly like re-examining our beliefs, our politics, so that we will welcome anyone who feels that they belong here. And so like Lilian said, I think it really is about taking the opportunity to go out and explore. So like to really keep up to date with what's happening in the cross-cultural centers and what's happening on this campus. So like come out to Culture Fest or Galentine's Day or a dialogue. And like, if there's something that kind of vibes with you, then like keep coming and we will be here for you. So we are offering these spaces for you all to like come out and like look for the people who you connect with and who you really feel like can become your family at Cal Poly.
Right, did you have anything to jump in on? Oh, still frozen. Okay, I'll keep moving. Yeah, I think I'm going to echo a lot of what everyone's been saying, but I think one thing that's important to think about too is that finding community and coming to a new place can be really awkward and really difficult sometimes, and I definitely want to say that as a way of like that can be part of the process. And in talking with students, I think the awareness of like sometimes this takes time was really helpful for them to realize like I need to give myself space to find my community. And I remember hearing a student encouraging other students who were checking out Cal Poly or who had been admitted and were planning on coming in the fall, and their encouragement was to find your people. And I know I speak for our entire staff in saying that we care about you. We care about your success, and we show up every day to our work with the intention of doing everything we can to cultivate success and also a place for you all to find your crew. And one of our main ways that we do that, apart from just making ourselves available to people, to sit, to talk, to connect people with resources and opportunities that could be helpful, but also just creating the places, spaces, events, dialogues, and experiences that are meant to help students find success and cultivate community. So yeah, just know that we're here for you, and we're really passionate about being there, being here for you. So
Thanks, Nick. So one thing that I really want students to know is that you belong here. All the people you have met today are resources for you to ensure that you're supported, seen, and celebrated during your time at Cal Poly. So that's the biggest takeaway that I can give to you all, echoing everything else that was just shared. So now we're gonna move into just an open Q&A. I know folks have been asking questions throughout the time with us today, and some of which have gotten live answers from us. But in the meantime, I'm also going to put up a slide that has our website information, which is also home to all of our contact information. If you would like to connect with any of us in the future, you can find us via these websites. So now I'm just going to open it up for folks to jump in with some Q&A. We've had some questions from William around what progress has been made on increasing the Black population at the school. And that's a really great question. It's no secret that Cal Poly is a predominantly white institution. Our Black student population is one of the lowest populations on our campus. And it's definitely a priority area for us as a campus, not just for our Black students, but for all of our underrepresented minority students, so that we can be a campus that more accurately mirrors the demographic of the state. Working now with having Anya coming on board with the Black Academic Excellence Center to help in partnerships with admissions and strategies for increasing that population, working with partner schools to do more intentional outreach to the Black students who get admitted to Cal Poly, and also in terms of retaining students is a big key factor. So there's a whole wide variety of cross strategies that the campus is working on increasing our Black student population. And Anya is also going to be hosting, I don't know if Anya, you want to talk about the session you're going to host later in the week that dives into more deeply the experiences of Black students and also the resources of support for students.
Absolutely. So you can look forward to another webinar on Friday, April 24th from 6:30 to 7:30, and we will have a gathering of the Black community, Black faculty, staff, and students. The title of our webinar is Black Life and Unlimited Possibilities at Cal Poly. So we are building on the conversation about what unlimited possibilities look like, and thinking about how inspired and inspiring the faculty and staff are, as well as the students for each other. So while we might not have the largest number of Black students, you will find that the work that's being done here with them, for them, on their behalf, and that students are doing with and for each other will put you in quite excellent company for your college career, but in particular for your career trajectory and your well-being.
So I also see there's a question about a Hispanic or Latinx center, and that's a really great question. Actually, before COVID-19 hit us all, we were prioritizing and working on opening a Latinx center. Unfortunately, just the entire campus has put a lot of things on hold, but that remains a priority and a hope that we will be able to open a Latinx center. And we're also in conversations about a Native and Indigenous center. Does anybody on the team want to speak to jobs for students who would like to increase diversity and inclusivity on campus for underrepresented students?
I can speak to it.
Great.
Yes, so we do have quite a number of student assistant positions available within our cultural centers. And we do a interview process every spring to hire those students for the upcoming fall. We also have graduate assistant positions as well, and a lot of volunteer and internship opportunities. There are other leadership positions across campus, and what we would really like to see is more underrepresented students in those leadership positions, like in university housing with the resident assistant position, or in new student and transition services, and other areas of campus. So we oftentimes will market those positions as well to our students.
There's also a lot of questions about the statistics and racial demographic breakdowns. I'm going to send a link in the chat that has all of the statistics from 2019 around racial and ethnic demographics, and then other information around first-time freshmen, first years, around male and female identified folks. So some of the questions that are being asked around that, you can find it accessing the link that I'm going to throw in the chat. There's also a question from Leslie around any additional organizations or clubs you all recommend for underrepresented students to become a part of. Definitely, there's so many incredible clubs and organizations, and I can also put a link in the chat to view all of the clubs and organizations. You can also filter them by looking at what clubs and organizations are cultural organizations. But there's so many. I know many of them are also going to be hosting sessions throughout the week, so I would say keep an eye out on the schedule for open house and on the website to see what organizations are joining. But we have close connections with, thanks Nick, we have close connections with so many cultural organizations, from METRA, the Filipino Cultural Exchange, BSU, Black Student Union, NSBE, the National Society for Black Engineers. There's so many affinity and cultural clubs and organizations on this campus that utilize our spaces, co-program with us, support our events and programs, build community through our centers. And also, you can also start a new club. So we've seen students who have exercised their leadership by establishing new clubs and organizations to bring students together and build community in new ways. Yes, there is a SHEP chapter, and they're fairly active and involved in a lot of our programs and events. Also look out for an email and information throughout open house from something called Polycultural Weekend. You heard it referenced here, but that's really an organization that was designed by students for students. And there's over 30 cultural organizations who participate in that program to host and share information about what it's like to be an underrepresented student on this campus, and what are all the support communities and resources there for you to ensure your success and graduation from Cal Poly. And you can also have a ton more information. I can link the Polycultural Weekend website in the chat as well. And there's a way for you specifically to ask any of the cultural organizations who participate in that program questions, link to their social media. It's a really great way to get connected with some of the organizations that you all are asking about in the chat.
In terms of the integration between the school and the local SLO and city community, I think it really depends on the area of campus. I know that a lot of our colleges and stuff will have different types of partnerships. Within the Cross Cultural Center, we also have quite a number of partnerships as well. So yeah, it really depends on the area of campus in which you're interfacing. I know in the Pride Center, we have very strong connections between our local nonprofits such as the Gala Pride and Diversity Center, the Community Foundation, and Trans Central Coast. And we work a lot to begin to streamline our resources across the Central Coast.
We have time for, I think, one more question, if anyone wants to ask one more question. So there's a question around SLO as a town is open to diversity in general. I think that there is a strong community of folks here in San Luis Obispo who mirror our values around love, empathy, and respect. It's also, I will be honest, SLO also is similar to Cal Poly, and that is a predominantly white town. So a lot of things that we hear from students and we try and support them through in our programs and even our food offerings is that because SLO is also a predominantly white town, you don't see a lot of the same access to cultural grocery stores or barber shops, and just the same access to even things like food. So through our programs, through the incredible staff on this call and also our student leaders, we've really tried to bring all of those things that feel like home into our spaces and through our programs. I would say we also have a really great mayor. I don't know if folks will echo that, but our mayor is really actively engaged in working through social justice practices and policies. She's active on our campus. She comes to almost all of our major events to show support. And so that really makes me feel that SLO has a mayor who is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I would echo that for our police chief as well. She's very connected, I think, with all of our communities, is very intentional about training of our police department and the officers there, and is very connected with the university.
And I'm going to say this question too by Christian is a really great one. It asks, how have you all helped students achieve their aspirations by strengthening their identity? I would say I can confidently say that everybody on this call has done this for students. I think it's one of the best parts of our jobs is being able to see students develop and grow through our programs, through self-awareness, the more that they explore their identities and their communities. We've been hands-on and we support students with whatever their aspirations are. Every year we see students who are getting into PhD programs, who are landing internships of their dreams, sometimes even changing career paths because of what we developed, and we help them navigate that and support them through that. I'd say this team is more hands-on than most teams you will find on campus, in that we want to support you in whatever way we can. Sometimes that's pausing your entire day to help students with resume building or working in new career fair workshops to make sure that we're providing access to information for you all, but also in a way that it's being delivered from folks who have had to navigate similar challenges or who have similar concerns, folks who look like you and who really unconditionally want to support your success at Cal Poly. So that is about all the time that we have for questions. Like I said, you see our websites on the screen. Feel free to check out our websites. And again, you can schedule virtual appointments with us. There's also access to our emails. You can contact us and just be on the lookout for more incredible programs throughout the week through the virtual open house website. And we really, really thank you for joining us and hope we were able to answer a lot of your questions about student affairs, diversity, and inclusion. Thanks, y'all.